Okay, 5th grade, I'm going to show you the techniques that you need to have to create your fantasy creature or your fantasy place. I'm going to be showing you how to create a slab, how to do a pinch pot, how to do a coil, and also how to attach clay to clay. These are all things that you should have incorporated into your creature or your place. So to start, you're going to get your chunk of clay. I need you guys to make sure that you hold it with one hand and kind of cup it and hit it with the other. We want to get all the air bubbles out of this chunk of clay. When you have kind of hit it enough and it feels like it is ready to go, don't overdo it, because if you start to feel it's getting dry, your hand is taking all the moisture out of the clay. And once it gets too dry to work with, it starts to get crumbly and difficult to work with. So I'm going to decide, what am I going to do? Okay, I'm making a dragon out of this chunk of clay. And I want one that is maybe, I want to make the body of the clay be hollow so it's not too heavy. So I need to decide on maybe taking out a head, and I need a tail, and possibly legs. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 legs. And this will be the body. So I'm going to go back and hit it again just to make sure I get all those air bubbles out, but I don't want to overwork it. Now I'm ready to make the body. So pinch pot, for some of you that don't remember or maybe have never made a pinch pot, once you have this round ball, you're gonna actually push your thumb in, and kind of like having an olive on your thumb, you're gonna start to pinch it with these 4 fingers and your thumb. You're pinching the clay as you go around. And you're just slowly building kind of a little hollow hole in your clay. And it's becoming a pot of sorts. Now, if you're making a dragon that is going to stand up, you might want to push more in the middle and get it to be taller. If you want it more of a body, so more like an oval, you might start to pinch it in this way to kind of make it more oval shape than round. So as you pinch, you're shaping it into the shape that you want. So use these fingers together to kind of create the shape that you want. So if I want to have this be a dragon that's kind of laying down, I'm going to stretch it and pull it. I want to be sure I don't poke my whole thumb all the way through and create a hole. This is going to be the body of my dragon. And I'm going to smooth out any of the sides. If it starts to crack, you just kind of smooth your finger over it. So I have kind of a body of clay. And now this is hollow, so I don't have to worry about it being this huge heavy chunk of clay that might have air trapped in it and might explode in the kiln. So any large chunks of clay, you definitely want to hollow it out. So I used a pinch pot technique to start that. Now for the tail, I don't need this big one. Well, I'm going to take this ball chunk of clay, and again, kind of get all the clay out of it. I don't want to sit and squeeze it for too long, or it will, again, become dry. And I'm going to make a coil out of it. So I keep going back and forth with my hands. I can also put it onto my mat and just go back and forth with it until it becomes, if it starts to be flat like this as I'm rolling it, it's not a perfect circle, I can kind of pinch it to be the shape I want and go back to going back and forth onto my mat. Now once I feel like my tail is ready, I want it to be thick on one end and skinny on the other. So this is the part that would attach to the body, and this would be the end of my tail. I'm going to keep going. I kind of want my tail, I think, to be one that can be up and down. So I want it to be a little bit longer so that I can do that. So I can maybe shape it to be somewhat of a curvy line. So if I put on the side so you can see it, it'd be something like this. So as I do my coil, I know at the end I want to kind of point, I can see that my clay is getting somewhat dry. I don't want to overwork it. I can dip my finger in the slip, the wet clay that we have. We also use it as glue, and kind of smooth out any parts that are getting dry. All right, so now I have my tail. I'm going to be attaching it to the body, and I want it to kind of stand up. You can see it from the side. So I need to attach this to the body of my clay. Now to attach clay to each other, first of all, I can tap this on the table to get it nice and flat. I need this to attach to this part here. So I need to use the 3 S's, which are score, slip, and smooth. So I'm going to take one of our clay pencils. You can see it's clay because it's got a bunch of stuff on it. Not one of our drawing pencils. And I'm going to use it as a tool to scratch. That's our first S, which is actually score. Scoring is the same thing as scratching. So I'm scoring this clay. I'm going to do the same to where it's going to attach on the other piece. In a sense, I'm making Velcro. If you think of Velcro, it has those little prongs. These are going to be able to hook together. Now, before I just stick them together, I need to make sure that I do the second S, which is slip. So we have score, then we slip. So I want to get some slip on there, which is like clay glue. Then I put them together, and the last S is smooth. So I'm going to take my finger and smooth out the seam where they are attached together. So I'm kind of molding them into one another. You could also add a little bit of clay right here and then kind of blend it back and forth. You can see how wet my finger is. Don't ever let your clay get too sloppy and wet. It actually makes it really hard to work with when it gets too wet. It's kind of like you have to find a happy medium. All right, so now my tail is attached and I've smoothed it out. It's become one piece of clay. So there's my coil and my long tail and the body of my dragon. Now I want to attach a head. So to make my head, again, start with a ball. I want to kind of roll it so it's kind of long shape. Just pinching with your hands can work really well too. So I want kind of a snout. So I'm going to use these fingers here to create and kind of pull a snout out from the top of this head. So if you're making a creature and you need kind of a snout shape, kind of just pull it. And this is kind of the ball shape I had started with right here. And I'm pulling this and smoothing it out. This might be where I want some eyes, so I can even push in to kind of make where the eyes are going to be on my clay. Okay. You can use lots of different things, like maybe I want to use the end of my eraser. We've got lots of tools. I can use the point to, I'm going to tap it to get it flat for the snout, and I can use my pencil to make the nostrils of my dragon. And you can see it's starting to shape. If I want to add ears, I could add them, or you can just kind of pull and pinch to create some kind of ears coming off of, or horns maybe. Maybe there's scales, so I'm going to pinch the clay to create scales. You have to be careful if the clay gets too thin. You kind of see how that broke off a bit. So I'm kind of starting to shape a dragon face. Now the front here, I can use a pencil to even draw. So this might be the mouth with the teeth. If I do a zigzag line, and along the side, I might want to do zigzags for my teeth, and on the other side. So I'm basically carving into my clay. When I get done with the head, I feel like it's pretty good. I'm ready to attach it to my, maybe I'll give it some kind of brow here. All right, I'm ready to attach it to the body. Again, I would need to score and slip and smooth to get this to the body. I might decide I want to pinch up scales all along, or spikes all along the tail. I could also use tools to create texture. So if I want some kind of bumpy body, I can use so many different clay tools to do that. All right, so that is how you can use a pinch pot technique, you can use a coil, and you can score, slip, and smooth to add clay together. The last thing I want to show you is if you want to make a slab. So you have this chunk of clay that you're given, and you're like, I want to start by carving out the shape. So maybe you want your dragon to be flat to begin with. So once I have gotten all the air bubbles out of my clay, I set it down, I get one of the rollers, and I'm going to, I find it easier, you can start here, but I find it easier in the beginning to just put my hands right on top of the roller and kind of wiggle it both ways to just get it started. You want to go in different directions. If you go in the same direction the whole time, it starts to get really big in the middle and skinny on the ends. So you need to even it out. As I get going farther, I can use my hands on the ends. I'm making a slab. I don't want to get it too thin. I know that maybe I want to make a dragon, so I want it a little bit longer. So I want to make sure that I'm pulling more forward and back. This is going to probably be a little one. I don't think I have enough clay to make a big one. Once I feel like I've made my slab and it's not too thin, you can see the width that I have it here, I can decide what is the shape. So if I'm making a body, I'm going to add a head later, but maybe I'm making a body of a dragon. I want it to be curvy. So this is going to be the body going into a tail. I'm going to cut this out. And there I've carved out a body. Now I could use that same head that I had created, because I have to show that I know how to attach clay. And I could score. So I'm scratching it on both pieces. Slip. And the last part would be smooth. So I'm going to connect them. I may have to go back and add the details if I smooth over some of my mouth and the teeth that I had made. But I'm making this to be one piece of clay. I could add some dragon wings. I could add legs that I have over here that I've already pulled off. And I've started to build up another dragon. You can see it's pretty thin right here. So I might need to add some clay so that the neck right here doesn't break because the head's pretty heavy. So there you go. That's another way you could create. So we have slabs, we have coils, we have pinch pots, texture, and score, slip, and smooth to add your clay together.